wife, and
Okay, so that means 99%.
yes, sir.
Okay, good. Very good.
Hello, sir. Good morning. Hi, Ravi. So good to
Hi,
see
Surabhi.
you.
Nice to see you.
Yeah,
Hello.
good
Hi.
morning. Good morning, Surabhi.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Yeah, we are fine.
Must, must be seeing everyone after a decade now. Yeah,
I
at
think
least
it's
for
such a
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
I think more than a decade. Yeah, nice to see
More than a
you
decade.
as well.
Yes, very nice. Have been
And
tracking on LinkedIn and all, but yeah, it's good to. I
Where
think
are you from?
thanks, thanks to Alumni Association to give this opportunity. It's so
has
good.
Tanya joined? Tanya and Shreya?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. If you
Tanya,
can.
hi, Tanya.
Hi. Hi. Looks like a reunion. So good.
Oh yes, I didn't know that people from our batches would be there. So
I know. Makes it
So
even more exciting.
Surabhi, we wanted to give you a full surprise, but it seems you were not able to, wait till 10 o'clock. So
yes,
Navya is the current president, Navya Chawla. She
okay.
told me, sir, Surabhi wanted to know who is coming. So then I said, okay, she is too excited to know. I said, okay, you reveal the names.
So that Navya only gave me a hint. She said there are other people also joining. So then I thought, "Venga, let me ask her." Then she has
Okay, okay.
given me that.
So how are you, Tanya? You are in Mumbai only?
Yes, sir. I'm in Mumbai.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. How have you been?
Yeah, we are very fine. We have become delights, So, so a lot of
Yeah.
mobility, like our Ravi from all the way from Darjeeling, he went to Chennai and settled there. So, so he has become now, a Bengali to a Tamilian. Are you a Bengali,
No,
Ravi?
I'm actually a Marwari. So my
Okay,
roots are actually in Rajasthan.
Wow.
okay. But how you family settled in Darjeeling?
So long time, about 50 to 60 years back, my grandfather migrated from Rajasthan to different places,
Okay.
then really settled in Darjeeling.
Oh, that's a great story. In fact, you should share that. There are a lot of people who are reluctant to, move out of their, own place, like one, city of birth or
Yeah.
Yeah.
etc. Yes.
That's very true with Mumbai people. I know because when I stayed in Mumbai for like 4 5 years, I've seen people who have been born and brought up in Mumbai. They can't step out. They were
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, we can't.
That,
In fact, for them, Delhi is also too alien. So it's not about just metro.
Yeah.
Correct.
But
so
I think I
when
will always be a Delhiite at heart. I mean, I
Because
still don't
you are
call
originally
Bombay.
from there.
Yeah, I
I
still don't
think
call
people
Bombay my home.
the original Bombay wala will be like,
Yeah.
are they have
Now,
problems with
now you
from
see,
Colaba to
Surabhi,
matlab, suburbs.
Tanya's kids should be the real Mumbai wala. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes. I think has Shreya joined? Not yet, no? Navya,
Yes, sir.
could you call, Shreya and find out
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I think
if
we can start the session till now, and
she would join?
yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So I think we can start the program.
Yes, sir.
Hi.
Ishita, you can take over.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, very
Yeah.
much.
Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to the Alumni Inspire session. I'm Ishita Singh, the Secretary of Outreach for the Economics Association, along with Arjun. Before I share more about the session, I'd like to introduce our Economics Department and Association. The Economics Department of Sri Venkateswara College is one of the most highly regarded academic units of University of Delhi and has not only produced a dynamic set of alumni but has also seen great academicians and scholars grace the corridors of the college as professors. Apart from academics, the department's day-to-day functioning as an administrative and extracurricular unit is handled by the Economics Association. The Economics Association of Sri Venkateshwara College is a group of dynamic individuals committed to ensuring the smooth functioning of departmental operations, activities, and events. Managed by the students of Economics Department under the purview of teaching faculty, it oversees a wide range of spheres from conduction of academics seminars and alumni sessions to the hosting of inter-college competitions. To smoothen functioning, the association has a highly organized structure spread across departments ranging from marketing to sponsorship, each led by secretaries who are in turn supervised by senior core council. The association also organizes annual fests of economic department, the Bliss Point, a well-regarded event in the undergraduate circuit. I would now like our teacher in charge, Dr. Brahma Reddy sir, followed by a faculty advisor, Mr. Amit Jha, to speak a few words. Sir, you can take it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. The Economics Association has been conducting a number of programs. Particularly during this pandemic year, we have done even more programs than we used to do in a physical mode. Apart from inviting experts on various fields, we also thought that it would be useful to invite our own alumni who have been working in diversified fields, who have got good amount of expertise to share their own experience with the present students, which helps the students in decision making about various choices they have post the undergraduation. And you all have gone through the phase of various difficulties, uncertainties. You have taken decisions in uncertainties and difficulties, and how your decisions, whether they turned out to be good or not good for you. Apart from your academic journey, we expect that you are going to share very frankly with all our participants, although the number is quite less, but they will be joining in the course of our discussion. The batch of 2007, all those who are present here, is a, I joined in 2004 in the college, so I did not know much about the students who passed out to prior to 2005 or 6. But 2007 pass out, that means they have joined in 2004, is a special batch for me for many reasons. It was the first first batch to whom I taught whole year. Second, the batch size was too large. Their number is 80, and you may be surprised, in those days I used to take printout of few things like, internal assessments, etc., etc. I still have one of the copies. I searched my, what is called bookshelf, and I was able to trace out one important document, which, you can see here. You cannot read it, but you can see it. There is a document. And this is the original document printed. If I go by the date also, it's on 11th August 2005. 11th August 2005, that was state second year. And this document is, allocation of some projects in macroeconomics. I feel so happy that, at that time, of course, they were in the annual mode, not in the semester mode. So annual mode is, if I have to draw some analogy with that of cricket, it's like a test match. You can score anywhere between August to April. Unlike, a semester mode, that's true under CBCS has become, like a 2020 match, So in 2020, the only goal is you have to hit and get the score. There is no other, objective. Of course, in the annual mode, learning, used to happen in a different way because they had plenty of time for, maneuvering. Suppose you miss 1 week class, you have some time, again to recoup what you have lost. But that's not the case at present. Before we, they share their experience, I want to share my experience, which I still remember. Out of 80 students, almost 70 plus used to attend classes regularly and throughout the year, which we, do not see of that, kind of attendance in the present day, classes. 80% plus would attend 80% classes. That means anytime you go to class, you will see full of students, that actually motivates teachers. Number two, they used to write a very good class notes, which is not the case at the moment. People just want to listen to the teacher. They have their own ways of preparation for the end semester exam. They may be using somebody's notes or some commercial notes, notes prepared by someone. That may also fetch marks. There is no doubt about it. But the way they used to learn, they used to write the class notes of each and every teacher. And when I see the class notes of some, students, it was a very big surprise to me that, it runs into volumes of notes, running into 200-300 pages. And in fact, I have taken the notes of one or two students, which I don't want to, reveal the names. So these are two important, observations, that they are very regular to classes, number one. Number two, they write the class notes so neatly, so well, and which used to help them in revision. Probably, they do not require to use the original readings. They the notes they have written is sufficient enough, because in the classroom, A to Z, what we follow is from the readings only. And the kind of learning is amazing. As you can see, after 13 or 14 years after, down the line, if you see them where they are, they haven't done, the CBCS mode or any other, mode of undergraduation. It was an annual mode and still, so good. And Tanya, her project was on price flexibility and full employment. I don't know whether she remembers, but my document says that. Her co-partner was, roll number 28. Roll number 28. Do you remember, Tanya, what is your roll number?
Yes, sir. I remember my roll number was 10.
And who is 28?
I think it was Mansi.
It was?
Mansi.
Yes, correct answer. Mansi Agarwal. Right? And yes. What about Surabhi? What's your roll number? Do you remember?
I think 27.
I don't remember actually.
Surabhi Pant is roll number 47.
47.
Am I right?
Yes. Now I could recall. Yes, 47.
Before you is Nitin Jain. After you is Raju Parshar. Do you remember now?
Yes. 47.
At least,
I remember clearly.
at least who is before and who is after you, you remember, right?
Yes.
And do you have any idea of what the project you have done? No idea?
No, sir, honestly. Don't remember. Actually, I don't remember which year. Some I could recall, but I really don't know that.
Yes. My document says it is Mr. Keynes and the Classics, a suggested interpretation by J.R. Hicks.
Yes.
Okay.
Did I do it with Gaurav?
Neha.
Neha.
Yeah. I didn't write any other number. Okay.
Yeah.
That means you alone must have done it.
Okay.
It may be possible I did not make the further additions.
Okay.
Further corrections I may not have made, but it says 47 is Mr. Keynes and the Classics. Yeah. Okay. And then we have Ravi. Ravi, do you know what's your roll number?
Not at all, sir. No clue.
Not at all. No clue. So I should give you some clue. Ravi, okay, yes. You are very close to Surabhi, in fact, okay?
Yeah.
I remember that, Ravi and our roll numbers.
I thought if I have to guess, I'll probably guess somewhere like 45, 48. Close.
Yeah, you are almost there. It is 44. Okay.
I'll remember that now.
Yeah, it's 44, and before you is Parushini Agarwal, and after you is Swati Dalal. Okay.
And what was the project?
Your project is a survey of inflation theory as per the records, okay?
Okay.
A survey of inflation theory. It's by Braun, Brenner, and Holman.
Yeah, I have a vague recollection.
Okay. So, there are two more people which I have mentioned in your, against your, topic. That's roll number 45, Swati Dalal, and roll number 92.
Who's that?
Roll number 92 is Amrut Diora.
Ah, okay.
Okay. Yeah. So this is what I recall, and they have been a wonderful batch. 80 batch. I still have that. What is called roll number list. We also have some students who migrated from our migrated from other colleges like Rishabh Mathur. Rishabh is in Dubai. You know that? Some of you know.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's in Dubai working on indirect taxes. I think Deloitte. Okay. And there is also Ekta Upadhyay and also Tanvi Mishra. All three got migrated from other colleges. So after your discussion is over, in fact, we are going to take your help for certain things. We are creating one very strong alumni base. Okay. So we know some people who are there here and there, but we exactly don't know out of the 80 people who are all there. Okay. Recently, you may be knowing, I had a call from one girl. Her name is Neha. I think Neha Sharma. So she is now in California. Okay. So she wanted to pursue a master's MBA, and it has been long gap, right? Since 2007 she passed out. Of course, she got married and settled there, but the admission requirement is that she has to submit a certificate from the college, right? So somehow she managed to get our email ID and then contacted, and we were able to provide. So accepting some 15-20, we exactly don't know where people have been settled. So at least you must be in contact, at least through LinkedIn or Facebook. We'll be taking your help. Thank you very much. Now we can go ahead as per the schedule.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Today we
Sir.
have with us. Yes.
Sorry, sir. Can I say something?
Yes, please go ahead.
Since you took us through memory lane, do you remember this book?
Yes, yes.
and you had gifted this to me, so I still have the book. I still treasure it.
In fact, yes. In fact, those who topped in the internal assessment, if I recall correctly, in the first internal assessment, those who got, I think, in the top 3, top 4, I have presented this macroeconomics book. I remember that. I think we did 4 internal tests. I still have those question papers with me. And, the sad part of the internal test is that each test has a weightage. Do you know your macroeconomics paper was 50 marks, right? It was 50 marks. So sad,
Yeah.
And out of 50 mark internal assessment is, 25%, that is 12 marks. Out of 12 marks, 2 is attendance. Your actual internal assessment of, tests, etc. is only 10 marks. And I took 4 rigorous internal tests, each having 2.5 mark weightage. And that is you have to attempt, at least 2 hours, you have to write answers, rigorously.
Yeah.
So you had that patience, which we don't find. Now everyone says, okay, 30-minute test. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Tanya. Yes, please go ahead.
Today we have with us 4 of our distinguished alumni. We believe having an active alumni network is immensely beneficial to the students as they can benefit in their professional lives by learning from the senior alumni, getting to hear about interesting job opportunities, challenges they have faced, and the invaluable experience they have gained over the years. Alumni have very special connection to the institution, and their support and guidance can really inspire and enthuse young minds that will venture into higher studies or placement opportunities in near future. We have with us Ms. Tanya Jacob, who is currently leading a team of 35 economists in Shell's downstream business, Mr. Ravi Sarogi, the co-founder of Samasthiti Advisors and a SEBI-registered investment advisor, Ms. Surabhi Pant, Deputy General Manager Public Policy at Samsung Electronics India, and Ms. Shreya Sony, the founder and CEO, Dssc Dssc Ideas Lab, we welcome you, ma'am and sir. I would now like to give it over to Arjun.
Good morning, everybody. Once again, a very warm welcome to our panelists, to our Alumni Inspire webinar. My name is Arjun Pratap Chauhan, and I'm a second-year undergrad at Sri Venkateswara College in economics. The order for today's session is as follows. Firstly, we have Mr. Ravi Saraugi, then Ms. Tanya Jacob. Thirdly, we have Ms. Surabhi Pant, and finally, Ms. Shreya Sony. As per our first speaker, Mr. Ravi Saraugi is an economics graduate from the class of 2007. Mr. Ravi is the co-founder of Samasthiti Advisors and is a SEBI-registered investment advisor. He has previously worked at Northern Arc Investments, JP Morgan, and HSBC, and was recognized as one of the 40 under 40 outstanding professionals in the Indian alternative investment industry by the Indian Association of Alternative Investment Funds. He regularly contributes to leading publications like The Economic Times, Mint, Business Standard, Business Line, Business Today, and etc. on topics relating to the economy, finance, and investing. He holds a master's in economics from Madras School of Economics and a CFA charter holder from CFA Institute from the US. Now I would like to invite Mr. Ravi to take over and tell us more about his professional journey. Over to you, sir.
Thanks a lot, the faculty, Dr. Brahma Reddy in particular, as well as the students for having me over. So I have a small presentation, and let me try and screen share that. Let me know if you guys can see it.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yeah, I'll know when to stop this presentation when I see the participant counts falling. So bear with me. So just, a small peek into my journey. I am from a small hill town in Darjeeling. I'm here for a holiday right now, in fact, coincidentally. And being, a Marwari, commerce was by default the +2, stream that I chose. And that was really a long time back without any access to internet or any kind of information as to what you can really do after class 12, particularly, at my place in Darjeeling. And it was just obvious that if you have done commerce in +2, you go ahead and, you do a BCom honors in your college. So that's how in 2004, after my +2, I came to Delhi, applied for various colleges. Now, 2004 actually happened to be the year, I think. It was the first year in which the common application forms were introduced by DU. So you don't have to go to each college and fill out multiple forms. You had that one single form and you could apply to as many number of colleges and as many number of courses as possible. And I think there was one of my relatives, a very good soul, who just told me that, okay, since you're anyway applying for commerce, why don't you also apply for economics? That's a great course as well. So I had no clue about economics, and I just happened to mention in the common application form, I applied for the economics course as well. And fortunately, looking back in hindsight, I consider it to be very fortunate. I got admission, at Venki in economics honors course, and I really loved the course, which is why I continue to pursue a master's in it at the Madras School of Economics in Chennai. And when you are undertaking undergrad in economics at a place like Delhi University and at a college like Venkateswara College, you don't really appreciate what a fantastic curriculum you are exposed to. And that's something which all of you students will realize as you go ahead in life. And when I look back across all these years and the experiences that I have had, beyond any shred of doubt, pursuing an economics at Delhi University at a fantastic college like SVC, it provides you with an excellent background. I mean, the coursework was incredible. To be exposed to subjects like comparative economic development and economic systems and macro. I mean, this is fantastic. And I realized this when I was pursuing my master's in economics at Madras School of Economics, that an undergrad in economics from Delhi University has really prepared you well for a grueling career if you so choose to pursue, a higher studies in economics. Now, Madras School of Economics, true to its location of being in the south, everything was extremely computer oriented. We had this fantastic SAS lab. While other masters places would have students working on Stata and SPSS, we actually had access to the enterprise edition of SAS and everything. And there's a very strong tradition of being trained on econometrics and statistics, and the natural progression post that, because you're really very strong in data science, is to, the first job that I had in 2009-10 was in HSBC in Bangalore in data analytics. And it was really, a good fit, given the strong background that students of economics receive, in statistics and econometrics. I was always interested in finance. I still don't know why. Is it because of my background? Is it because of the technicality of the subject? I don't know. It's just something that I always felt I wanted to make a career in, and that's when I enrolled for a CFA program while working at HSBC, and then made a transition to equity research at JP Morgan and IFL Capital. Then moved on to asset management at IFMR and Northern Arc, and finally co-founding my own startup, Samastiti Advisors. And as during the presentation in particular, I will be talking about how you can approach. So if you look at my trajectory, I bumbled from different places. Equity research to asset management to wealth advisory. I really did not have the context as to what the finance industry has, and what part you want to play in that industry, right? And I'll touch upon that briefly, at least for the students who want to make a career in finance. You will find that helpful as you plan your own trajectory in the finance industry, and also talk about the CFA program and how it can assist you in your career in finance, and a small bit about my startup, which I co-founded. So this is after if you look at the trajectory from 2009 onwards, this is all core finance. But one of the backdrops, one of the drawbacks of the finance industry is it's really geared towards serving what we could call as the privileged sections. These are really the core finance work is really oriented towards serving large institutions and what we call as high net worth individuals. And a lot of benefits of finance do not perlocate down to the economically weaker section. And forget the economically weaker section. The benefits of finance does not even perlocate down to what we can categorize as the middle income population in India. And my through my startup, we want to target that. We want to reach and bring the benefits of investing and financial planning to everyone, irrespective of their income brackets. We want to reduce the significant mis-selling of financial products which happen in India. We want to provide what is unbiased advice. For example, when I was working, across all these years, I never had access to unbiased and professional, financial planning services. It was something which was only reserved for the CXOs, in the company with very high compensation packages, right? So we want to change that. We want to bridge knowledge gaps, and we want to empower people. Now, with that background, I'm not going to bore you with a laundry list of things that you can probably do now, to make a career in finance. But I think some of the things which really helped me and which I'd like to pass on to you is to get your hands dirty. Now, for people who want to make a career in finance, it's important that, of course, your textbooks, your classes, your capital market theory classes, as well as the other readings that you do can really prepare you. But it's important that you start, your own investing journey and you get your hands dirty. And I think in the current world, it's very straightforward. All that you really need is internet and a very small amount of capital. Even a few thousand rupees is more than sufficient to actually start investing. And the reason I say this is not because you should make money through that investments. It's just that once you start investing and once you start thinking about all of these things, it really widens your horizons and makes your classroom learnings that much more exciting. I still remember, when I was at Venki, it was not easy back then due to lack of availability of internet at everywhere. But me and a bunch of friends, we went and opened our own broking accounts, with a very small amount of money. I still remember the first share that I bought, Bharti Airtel, and a lot of experiences, of that. The first learning really was to read the fine print, because when we went ahead and bought those shares, we didn't read the fine print of what the broking charges would be for a small size ticket investment. And that really burned the hand, and the stock would have to go significantly up for us just to recover the cost of buying that share. So a lot of these learnings which you can only get by getting your hands dirty. Understand the industry, and I'll just briefly talk about this. Finance is so wide and it's so large. And it's very, very important that you understand, in that large wheel, what cog you want to be and what role do you want to play in the industry. It's not important for you right now to understand, where in the buy side or the sell side of the industry you want to make a career in, but just that background will really help you plan, your journey. Strongly recommend to complement your knowledge of economics with finance. Economics is a terrific course, for people who want to pursue a career in finance. It really, really provides you with an excellent set of skill sets. And if you can complement that, with some amount of learnings in finance, either through taking electives in your master's on capital market theory or through a CFA program, that's something which is, will be very, very helpful to all of you. And last, you are, of course, as an economist, you will be trained very strongly in data science. And that's something which is really, really helpful in finance, because we are seeing this big wave in the industry where everything is becoming quantitative. In fact, quant finance is becoming increasingly more important. So as markets are becoming more and more efficient, the emphasis is turning, from getting, advantages from research to getting advantages from quantitative abilities. And that's something, if you can get your hands on, learning Python, R, and being strong in your statistics and econometrics, will really, set you apart. So very briefly, if you look at the entire finance industry, you can classify it into different ways, right? You can classify it into investment banks, wealth management, right? But that's not the right way to look at it. You can look at a classification of the industry first and foremost as a division between buy side and sell side. And what this means is any activity in the finance industry which relates to actual buying and selling of financial instruments is called the buy side, and activities that support the buying and selling of financial instruments is called the sell side. Now, both of these industries are very different, even though they are part, of the same, fold, and they require very different set of, skill sets. So what is really the buy side? In the buy side, you're actually taking money from others and you're managing it for them, right? And this is a core distinction. You are just not advising somebody. You're actually taking money from people and investing it on their behalf. Like, for example, mutual funds, or portfolio management schemes or alternative investment funds. And the key thing about the buy side is that you're really in charge. You can listen to 10 people, but it's you who are going to make the decision. And hence the buck, really, really stops with you. Performance benchmarking is everything in this industry. How your investments perform, is tracked every second, and your performance is benchmarked, against that. So the buy side, it's generally consists of very small teams. You will not have very, very large teams in the buy side. It's a very tight industry and it's tough to break into, which is why for most people who look at a career in finance, the way the trajectory works is you first get into the sell side, and then you work your way towards the buy side, if at all you want to make that transition. The sell side is services which enable the buy side to function, and the type of sell side outfits, investment banking. You can assist corporates from raising capital to mergers and acquisitions. Sell side research, which I feel is is something which is a really good fit with economics, because this is research. It's a different kind of research, but as economics students, we're really cut out for this kind of work. Research on financial instruments, and just not on financial instruments, because a lot of sell side research focuses on research on economic aspects as well. Wealth advisory is a part of sell side, where you're advising on money. The key distinction is you're not actually taking the money and investing it, you're only advising the buy side in terms of what you should buy and sell. And there is a market infrastructure of broking and transaction execution, which is actually a very large growth industry right now. A lot of fintechs are trying to make the job of buying and selling securities, of accessing research, much more easier, and everything should be available on your smartphone. So that's a big industry now. The sell side, the industry is more diffused and it's relatively easier to break into compared to the buy side. Now, a word of caution: the sell side industry has extremely long working hours. It's an industry which is known for burnouts, and the compensation reflects that fact. It's generally an industry which pays really well. But most people who are on the sell side look to transition to the buy side and actually get into the money management business. Yeah, so I don't know, those previous slides were helpful, but if you want to get a taste of what the sell side and the buy side is, you can watch these two movies. You're the Netflix generation, so this should just be a click away. And you can watch the movie Wall Street, not the recent Wall Street movie, but this is the 1987 Wall Street movie where Michael Douglas played the character of Gordon Gekko. And sell side is really a part of the industry which thrives on deal making. Everything is about deal making on the sell side, and you can look at Gordon Gekko in the movie, and you can see what Of course, this is all fictionalized, but just to give you a flavor. And if you want to get a flavor of what the buy side means, you can look at the movie Margin Call, and this is about an organization which is actually managing money. It's an asset management company, and what really goes on then. Just to give you guys a flavor about the CFA program. So I think by virtue of the fact that I did my undergrad economics from Delhi University, and at Venkateswara College, and I went on to do my master's at Madras School of Economics, which is a very strong quant economic background. I was really comfortable in terms of the economic aspect of my technical expertise. But because a course in economics doesn't explicitly prepare you on core finance, you can supplement that with a CFA program. The CFA program is by far the most comprehensive program which is available, which teaches you about different aspects of finance. So for the people who are really into investing, you would recognize this figure. Benjamin Graham is called the father of value investing, and if you don't recognize him, you will at least know Warren Buffett. So Benjamin Graham is Warren Buffett's mentor, and he was the original advocate for a CFA program, because he felt that security analysis, which is analyzing financial instruments and securities, requires a very specific set of skill sets, and there should be a program which actually imparts that education to you, which is what the CFA program does. It first started in 1963. It's more than 150 countries today, and it's a very select club. There are only about 160,000 CFA charter holders across the world. So it really sets you apart, and the best thing about the CFA program is you can do this on the job or while you're pursuing your education in whatever fields. It's something which requires weekend time to maybe post work, a few hours of studying, and some amount of hours of studying on the weekend. You clear 3 levels of examinations, And then you have to work for 4 years in the capital market industry. So your work has to be related to finance. And the moment you achieve those 4 years of work experience, you can submit references, which could be anybody, preferably, people you have worked with, in the field of finance, and you can apply, for a CFA charter. So Benjamin Graham, was really the father, you can say, of the CFA program, and that's his very famous book, The Intelligent Investor, which all finance aspirants read. So I read that as well during my college. I did not understand anything, but it did feel good, to just tell people that, okay, I've read The Intelligent Investor. Yeah, so this is close to the end, and I think if there was, I thought about what can I tell you about lessons that I have learned, and I thought let me just keep it very narrowed down and on the most important things that I would like to pass on. And after more than about a decade of working, one of my biggest learnings have been that soft skills eat hard skills for breakfast. And I cannot emphasize this enough, because when as students, when we are in college and when we are in masters and when we are studying, we always feel that if you're really good in your studies, if you score well, it's an indicator of success, to success which will come later on in life. Now, of course, that's true. You have to be good at what you're studying and you have to have the technical ability, but we overemphasize on that a lot, and throughout your education, be it school, be it college or your masters, right? There's a very little emphasis on soft skills like leadership, teamwork, ownership, getting the big picture right, understanding what is the context behind what I'm doing, as well as relationship building. Right. So these are things which are extremely important. So having the technical expertise, is, a necessary condition for success. But of course, it's by no means a sufficient, condition. And when you think about it, right, if you look at any organization, when it lacks in technical expertise, that gap is relatively easier to fill, because the information asymmetry in filling out technical gaps is a lot lesser. If you want to hire a resource who is technically brilliant, right, there are indicators which you can use to easily hire. Right, this is, for example, if you're looking for somebody who can do financial engineering, right? If you have a master's in financial engineering, somebody who has done that, that he or she may be a good fit. But when an organization lacks soft skills, when an organization wants a leader, or a team worker or somebody who takes ownership, the information asymmetry in trying to determine, who that person will be is significantly larger. It's very, very difficult to identify. It's very easy to identify who has topped his university. It's very difficult to identify who among that student base is actually a leader. So, soft skills are extremely important, and you should, in whatever way you can, focus on that. The world is not linear. There is no one way to do something. This, when this may not be really, an impediment for you, because all of you students are really exposed to a lot of information. But for me, coming from a small town, it was always projected to me that if you want to get from X to Y, this is the journey that you have to take. And I think in my 10 to 15 years of experience, I have found that to be patently untrue. I mean, there is just absolutely no one way to do something. And my biggest, one of my biggest lessons, and this is particularly true after I co-founded my own startup, is that everything involves an element of sales, and you just can't get away from it, right? I think when we are young and when we are studying, we think, okay, if I'm good in sales, I'll go for marketing. If I'm good in X, I'll pursue something in that field. I think what I've learned is that there is nothing which does not involve an element of sales. And that's something that all of us have to learn at whatever point of time in our life. My three biggest influencers, the book, and this is particularly relevant for people who want to make a career in the financial markets. The book is Fooled by Randomness. This is a book, if you imbibe properly, will completely change your perspective of how the financial market works. And in fact, every book by Nassim Nicholas Taleb is equally brilliant, but this one in particular, is like a watershed of a book. And as a student of economics, Milton Friedman has been a great influence. In fact, I always lament that the curriculum in economics does not cover his ideas more, and this is something which I read post my education. And in the field of finance, if you're looking for inspiring people in the field of finance, there are actually very few because the field of finance, at least the perception is that these are all jet setters who the 1% population who take wealth from the other 99%. But that's not really true. There are several luminaries in the field of finance who have done phenomenal work, and I would encourage you to read about John C. Bogle. So he's the founder of the Vanguard Group. Now, the Vanguard Group is the second largest asset manager in the world after BlackRock. So it's right up there in terms of the asset management business. But if you look at any list, of rich, individuals, you will never see John Bogle's name. And if you want to solve this mystery, you should read about him and his inspiring journey. Great. So that's all from me. And I see that not many people dropped off. So thanks for listening.
Thanks a lot, sir. That was a very informative session. Sir, we've also received questions now, so can we move to them?
Yes, Arjun.
Yes.
Can we take up the questions at the end so that the remaining speakers also would complete their presentation?
Sure, sir.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, as for our second speaker, we have Miss Tanya Jacob. Mrs. Tanya Jacob is an economics graduate from the class of 2007 as well. Further, she went on to pursue her MBA from ISB Hyderabad. She initially worked as a credit analyst at Chrysler Limited. Then in 2010, she began working as commercial underwriter at American Express. Further, in 2010, she took up the post of assistant manager at Barclays. Then after a 5-year-long tenure at Cipla under various capacities, she currently works at Shell, where she's leading a team of 35 economists in Shell's downstream business. She's an avid reader and an avid traveler. And with this, I would like to invite you, Ms. Tanya, to take the floor.
Thanks, Arjun. Thank you all for having. Is the audio okay? I'm just hearing a little bit of disturbance.
Even to me, there is some noise coming from some source.
Anirudh, yeah.
Okay.
Now, okay.
Okay, great. So thanks, and thanks for the inspiring talk, Ravi. I think it's very difficult to follow up, after you've done it. So I don't have a presentation, so I'm going to keep it very short, and I'm going to keep it about different aspects of finance from what Ravi covered in my journey. So I did my schooling. My 11th, 12th was in science and science with computers. So I had absolutely no clue when I joined the economics honors course. I had absolutely zero background about economics. I had never studied it. But I wanted to take up the challenge. I wanted to try up something new. So when I remember my first week at college was quite painful because I couldn't understand a thing that was being discussed. I spent a lot of time in the libraries and try to learn up things, and I think that really helped because some of the concepts that I studied in college are all etched so well. Because of that extensive research that I had to do because I didn't have a background. And that helped me quite a lot. Even today, I remember things and, I have that interest in economics, that's still alive. So in college, I actually, like Ravi said, we didn't have too many avenues. We didn't have too much of information. I kind of followed the rat race. I studied for CAT for 2 years while I was still in Benki. And but yeah, on the day of the exam, I did not do very well. I got, I think, like a 96 percentile. I wanted to make it to the IIMs, but I didn't get through. So I had, and I also had a campus offer in hand, but again, I was not very sure whether I wanted to pursue that. So there were a lot of dilemmas at that point of time. And then I think Dr. Brahma Reddy only suggested or told me about this course in CRISIL, Mumbai, which was a study come work program. And the idea compelled to me, and I thought, I'll try that out. I was this person who, all through life was in Delhi, and moving to Mumbai was a big decision for me and my family, but thankfully, everything worked out. And I started pursuing the course and also doing the internships. It was a grueling time period, because from Monday to Thursday I would be in office, and then Friday, Saturday would be full 8-hour, 9-hour classes. But of course, that provided me a very good foundation in finance. So that was my introduction to finance through that course and through the internship. During the internship, I started off with leveraging my background in economics and doing sovereign ratings in CRISIL. So, like when you look at the macroeconomic parameters of different countries and then you assign them a rating. Then I moved to assigning credit ratings to different companies in the US, doing the whole financial analysis, the whole credit analysis, the ratios, the financial statements. I did that for 3 years, and then at that time, I can also mention that I had written the exam for JNU and I got through, but I think I was still, like I wanted to pursue finance and not economics. So I thought that, let me learn something new. I don't know whether that was the right decision or not, but, never looked back since. But yeah, so, I did that, then I moved to the banking sector. And some of my choices, so I had a very clear view about, or rather, I won't say clear view, but a vague, idea of the direction which I want to go. I was clear that I want to stay in the corporate world, and I liked working with companies and stuff, and I didn't want to go into academics, so that bit was clear. But I wanted to keep some of my options open as well, right? So then when I moved to the banking industry, and I worked both in the SME and then in the large corporate sector, I knew, so I was doing very well, and I was on a fast track career and everything. But then I thought that, and that's, after 5.5 years of experience, I thought that, if I kind of continue on this path, probably I'll plateau very soon. Yeah, so that's where I thought maybe it's the right time for me to start thinking about, rekindling my dreams of doing an MBA. So I obviously chose ISB because that was the course that that experienced professionals usually prefer. It's a high, at that time when I pursued in 2013-14, it was already an established college, and good track record, good alum network. And more importantly, I think this was also a very important decision for me, that I wanted to get enough financial capital so that I can fund my own program, right? I didn't want to take a loan, or and that's why I wanted to kind of work as well before pursuing my MBA. So did that course for a year, and with 5 years of experience in finance, I kind of had a decent view that I did not want to pivot my career. Yeah, so I wanted to stay in finance, but I wanted to try out the something different, but in finance itself. So I didn't want to pursue specializations in different areas. And again, one may argue that could be the right approach, that may not be the right approach. But I think what that helped me is that level of focus helped me to prioritize my time and my energy during that 1-year course into things that really mattered. Yeah, so rather than trying out my hands in different things, something working, something not, I thought, I'm clear that I want to pursue something in finance. So let let me not waste time and let me really channelize my energy into those focus areas. So now again in ISB, I got a campus offer, which I did not take because again, it was in a bank and I was fairly clear that I wanted to move to the corporate finance side. I also had consulting and all of those options open for myself, but my heart was set at corporate finance. And then I kind of got this off-campus opportunity with CIPLA, and yeah, so it basically happened through network, and that's something that's really, really important. How do you maintain that connect with people, and you never know, when someone you might have met like 5 years back, you created an impression, and then they come back and something works out for you. So yeah, CIPLA happened. It was an absolutely wonderful journey. I spent 5 years with that company, and I did a variety of roles. During the first 6 months, I actually set up this international holding company in London for CIPLA, and it involved like a lot of selling of its subsidiaries to this holding company. I met the HMRC, the ministers of UK. So it was like a really good learning experience. I did a stint in Treasury as well, which involved working. Now I was on the other side of the table, and that was like pretty exciting because I worked with the same people that I used to work with at CRISIL, in now coming up with an international rating for CIPLA. So I was on the other side of the table. Then I also did this capital raising for an acquisition that we did. So again, working with banks, leveraging my network when I was with different banks, and bringing that all together. And then I did a stint in FP&A as well. So pure corporate finance, again, it is more about and that was my strength. So analyzing financial statements, analyzing numbers, making sense out of it. And yeah, in 2016, like Ravi, I also earned my CFA charter. So he's already covered a lot about the CFA program, so I'll not repeat all of that. But I can vouch for the fact that yes, it does help. It does help strengthen the whole background in finance if you're thinking about a career in finance, and it's a really it's a commendable program to pursue. So yes, with CIPLA, I think so each of my roles that I've done so far have always been about trying to learn something new, and if the next role or the next opportunity or the next phase in life does not make you uncomfortable, then you're probably not on the right path. That's the mantra by which I have lived. So when I started to get very comfortable in CIPLA, I thought to shuffle things up a little bit, and I took up this role in Shell, which was like a people management role, and it was quite different from what I had done so far. It was everything on a much larger scale. So right now, I would say that I've set up the team from scratch. So of course, that journey has been fulfilling in itself. But otherwise, being at the helm of M&A at the energy transition, and like using principles of economics, using principles of valuation of finance, and making investment decisions for the company. That is what my role primarily is. And yeah, so I'm also now very soon kind of moving on to a next role in the Netherlands, which again is going to be like a completely different something that I've never done before. And of course, it again makes you a bit anxious and a little bit nervous, but yeah, that again, right, that's a thing in the right direction then. So yeah, that has been my journey. I'll say it's been bumpy as well. But what I have always thought of, like I mentioned, was is what is the opportunity to learn in whatever I was doing. How do I maximize returns out of it? And when I was starting off in Venki, I really had no clue that I would ever make a career in finance, or this is what my 10-year or my 15-year plan looks like. But I think I was open to try out different things. I had confidence in my ability to to be successful at trying my hands at whatever comes my way, and some principles that I've kind of always applied. So I think I'll kind of echo what Ravi also shared about the soft skills. So three things that at least I think are very important, and some, like, my mentor from 10 years back had told me this, and he mentioned like these three things. And one is, for me, it's character. So character, all about integrity. You just need to be like, an authentic person, a good person, because otherwise people can really see through you, right? And nobody will want to work with you. So the first one is that. The second one, I would say, would be strategy, and that is, the whole connecting the dots, thinking big, like whatever you do, right? Think big picture, and uh, keeping things simple as well. So how do you explain complicated things in a simple manner, and how do you really talk it from the other person's point of view? I think that is super important. And then the third one would be judgment. How do you take bets on different individuals? How do you take judgment calls? How much to speak, when not to speak? And these things are really important in the long run. So yeah, this has been my journey. It's not been a linear line, like most of you may have realized, but when I kind of reflect back and I see, like, okay, I've done quite a lot, and I'm quite satisfied and happy with how things have shaped up. And I had never thought that I'll be here where I am, when I was in Venki. So yes, thank you. Thanks for listening, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Yes, Arjun, go ahead.
Yeah, yes, sir. So I would be going ahead now. Now I would like to call upon Miss Surabhi. Miss Surabhi has more than 13 years of experience in the field of public policy across sectors. Currently, she works as the Deputy General Manager, Public Policy at Samsung Electronics India. Prior to this, she was a part of regulatory services in PwC India. She started her career in public policy by working with India's apex industry association, FICCI, where she used to take care of consumer facing sectors of retail, FMCG, and e-commerce. Over the past few years, her focus has been in consumer tech policy space, as this industry is witnessing frequent regulatory changes and policy evolution. She is also a member of FICCI Committee of Women in Technology and Leadership. She is a 2007 batch BA Honours Economics from Shri Venkateswara College and has a Master's in Business Economics from Delhi University. Ma'am, you can take over now.
Thank you. Thank you, first of all, for this wonderful opportunity. And I think it's such a good initiative which gave us a chance to know about what you guys are doing and about our peers. It was wonderful to hear Ravi and Tanya, their journey. In fact, we have lost touch since we have left Venki. So I think I could now connect with them very easily, and I would know their path in just those 15 to 30 minutes. So now, hearing from the two finance wizards, now you'll hear from a person who actually kind of had a fair of finance throughout her career. So this had started, I think, since the beginning of grad, that I would say. I was never good at the subjects of finance and economics, and it continued still. But yeah, I'll take you to my journey of policy, and I'll get into there. And let me just start with from where I came and how did I enter Venki. So I had done my schooling from Dehradun, again, relatively small town. And of course, the schools are pretty good out there. So typically, I have a background of science with economics. Luckily, I had economics, so I have some sense of economics. But like any science student, I was an engineering aspirant. I had applied for IITs and the other regional colleges, somehow didn't get through a good ranking there. So of course the natural path was, okay, let's try Delhi University. I'll tell you a very interesting thing that a lot of people from Dehradun, because since the schools are good, but we don't have good university out there, have ambition of like, we'll go to Delhi University and to North Campus only. So quite of my friends and all were making plans that, okay, they've picked colleges, Stephens, Hindu, Hansraj, whatever. And I was not even aware of that Venkateswara College exists till the time I had to apply for it. When I came to Delhi, some people say, oh, there are colleges in South Campus also. And I just heard, I think, of LSR or GS and Mary. So of course my family friends in Delhi who were there, they said, no, this is also a good college, you should apply for it. And I think that was one of the best decisions that I took. And during those years that I'd spent in Venkateshwara, and of course my friends were also in North Campus, I could see a difference in kind of the academic focus that we had, the way we were performing, and of course it further strengthened my decision that I was in a right direction. So I passed out. We, of course, in 2007, as everyone, I also gave a lot of competitive exams, and I also had a campus recruitment, but I got through this Department of Business Economics course in South Campus, so just next door to Venkateshwara. And I thought, let me just, so people advised me that you may try to continue and finish your studies first, do your masters, like a typical path that we all have. And so I decided to take it up. I did my masters of business economics from South Campus. It was I had a specialization in econometrics out there, and of course business finance was there. And we graduated from MBA in 2009. And as you all must be aware, 2008 was not a very good year. The later half of the 2008 in terms of the world economy, the Lehman Brothers collapse and all had happened in September, October. So this was the time it was tough in the market. And of course, the things have, you have seen the effect in India as well. The job market was not doing so well. So it was tough times, and I was part of the placement committee out there. We had struggles in calling the companies, and people who used to pick up like 5 to 7 people, they were just picking one or even none. So those were challenging times, but somehow we sailed through. I got an offer from FICCI, which I took, and primarily my objective was I'm a person who always I like to be actively involved in whatever generally in the general arena and whatever is happening. How are you in touch with people? How do you some job should give you a thrill of meeting new people, and that was one thing which really kind of attracted me towards FICCI, because in association you get that opportunity of quick exposure. I would say you are meeting the CEOs of the industry, you are meeting the top leaders of the government, and I thought that this would be an interesting space. But I realized this career is like in association, in 2-3 few years you'll learn what you have to learn, and it is usually linear out there. After a while you really don't have a clear cut growth path, because you are practically doing the same thing. So I realized it's a time to move on from FICCI. And luckily at that time, PwC was forming their public policy wing within the regulatory services. So as we all know, these big fours typically have, one is their accounting work, and the other is the advisory kind of a work. Policy space is something which was limited to either some of the policy consulting firms which are coming up. And that time also, I'm just talking about like 7-8 years back, it hasn't come to that in that big way that it's coming now. And I'll talk more about it going ahead. So the partner out there who was leading the India regulatory services, he realized that public policy is one area which may pick up. So let us build this practice. So he got me and one of my colleagues from FICCI, they kind of pulled me to build this practice within PwC. And I could proudly say that when we started this practice in PwC, we just had one client, like big client, a global e-commerce company and all. And because those were the companies who could afford a big four and all to do their policy work. So I'll tell you what they actually make us do. And now, since I left PwC this year only, and we were like serving more than 30-40 clients in policy space. So what they expect is in public policy, what the industry right now needs is they need a support system who can help them in navigating through the government complexities, the regulations that are evolving day by day, and make them, we are like their ears to the ground, we are their voice, um, we are their mind, we are their strategist, because the company itself somewhere have some reservation of directly going to the government, of directly speaking their mind out, because of course some companies have some protocol issues in terms of they are directed by the global group companies, and some people have those kind of restriction, and some have their other ways of doing it. So they need an organized way of doing public policy within the company, so that our message reaches to the government. The changes that we want that would impact the businesses need to be favorable. However, at the same time, we also need to be perceived as a, if I could say, a good for India partner to the government, that I am a company who is committed to the industry, to the country, who is doing some, they might be doing a lot of great work in the country, but how does it get passed on to how the benefit penetrates to the masses, and if it is doing so, how do government hear my story? I need to have a right narrative. So public policy is all about right narrative at the right time with right set of people. So, and this is something which slowly companies are learning to adopt, and are specializing in it, but and now the courses are also being developed in this area. During our time, we didn't have any course in masters in public policy and all. What I learned is through experience. I was in FICCI, so of course I know how government functions. I know what industry people, the government relations leader in industry, or the CEOs in industry, what they expect from the government. I understood from there, and I see that what they need. We had a lot of failures in terms of mismatching of expectations and all, but gradually we learned that what is good and what would work. So, so this really helped me in building the practice I was at my PwC journey now. And we have been helping companies in driving their strategy in a way that, one, they remain compliant with all the laws of the country. And secondly, if they have any plans of business expansion, if they have any new areas to penetrate, then they are aware that what are the threats that I have. Now, the threats I'm talking only from the perspective of the regulatory and the legal and framework, and how can I start addressing it right away, that by the time I am growing in that area, these things are already addressed and doesn't become a big bottleneck, because any regulatory hurdle can be a showstopper for an industry. Like a lot of people you would hear from, and our idea would be good and all, and if we are not compliant, and if the government is not supporting it, somewhere we will be pulled in day-to-day crisis management, which we really help the companies to solve it. So within PwC, now let me come to the tech policy side, which I largely focus on. We had to decide on what are the areas that people need help in, what are the policy evolution that is happening. We all know the way the technology has touched our lives, and more so in COVID times. We know how data of people like us has now become so important. We know there are instances of misuse of those data, our personal information. We understand the intent of the government of getting newer regulations into this industry. However, few things which we don't understand is India is one of, I think we are like a pioneer in making regulations, and especially in the technology front. We have not self-regulated. We have not let the companies to be self-regulated. We are putting rules and laws in it. One is that, of course, we are concerned about consumer safety and data protection and their rights and everything. The other is also what we have to think is we have to see from the vision of our honorable Prime Minister, who wants to be the leader in the areas where we are. So we feel that, okay, we should, people need to follow the policies that India is making. At least in technology space, we could be the one who could be followed in terms of how to regulate the sector. And actually, a lot of Southeast Asian countries and all are looking into India, what India is doing. Once under data protection, there was a law, EU GDPR, and when India adopted, and the way our data protection bill is being framed according to it, they are seeing what are the clauses which we are taking in it. So so these intent, one is what the policy is all talking about. Another beauty of policy is you need to go many layers below. You need to understand what is the real intent, why is it happening, are some geopolitical scenarios impacting our decisions, our country decisions. Is there something political in this move? Is it just for the economic benefit or not? So those things you gain by experience, of course, but also by reading a lot. You really have to read about. You need to understand. You need to connect the dots. If something is happening somewhere in US, somewhere in Europe, and if how is it impacting my regulators out here? What are they learning from it? If in state something has happened, in a small state some kind of a theft has happened or some kind of a crime has happened, how could my cybersecurity policies would change according to it, and why would they want to do it, how soon they would want to do it. So those are the things which we would know once we just don't see a small picture. As Tanya had said, in public policy, we really have to see a big picture of the things, because your intent lies there. And if you have to change anything, then you have to target at the intent. You need to understand your stakeholders, that ultimately who is it benefiting. We all know, we have been hearing stories about how e-commerce these days is there are regulators who are eyeing them like a hawk. We know how competition commission is acting on them, and a lot of you must be hearing in media, a lot of accusations are there on how the small sellers are suffering because of that, what kind of algorithms these companies are using to give priority to their own sellers, and the way discounts are fudged and everything. But why is it happening? Who are the bodies who are kind of triggering the government to take this action? So these are the things which we try to analyze and see a root cause, and identify our stakeholders, our influencers, some people who are pro us, some people even who have a negative view. How could that be? I understand the negative view converting into positive would be very difficult, but can we get them to a neutral path? Can we do some kind of partnerships with them so that they at least don't go against us in the media? So there's also a very thin line of like people a lot of time confuse policy with PR or something. So I would say so that it is in some way similar, but in a lot way different. PR is largely restricted to your media perception and some building good messages and whatever the company is doing well, having it circulated to the masses. But public policy is working with the government in the policy evolution process, understanding how it impacts your business, and working with the people who may impact it, and then making a difference. So while a PR a lot of time could be reactive, there is some policy come, I have to make a statement, let me talk about it. Public policy have to be a mix of a proactive and a reactive strategy. Everything is going well in my company, okay, I'm not getting any notices or anything, all that, I can be silent, but that's not happening. So that's what I'm now doing and coming to my Samsung journey. So in Samsung public policy, I am a part of a team who is right now, in fact, again, here I am brought in. They also want to give a new flavor to their public affairs team. This is largely a public affairs team where they have given me a policy role, because so far, Samsung, of course, good part is that they have been manufacturing in India since 25 years. They are aligned with the government's Make in India vision. So right now, the sentiments of NTMNCs doesn't hold that much with Samsung, just because we have physical investments in the country. So people think that we are doing so much in the country. Of course, government will listen to us and do whatever we want. And of course, we are law-abiding firms. We have our compliances in place. But there are new laws which are evolving. And again, if we have to expand our portfolio in the country, which are the policies which I need to track off, at this moment, I have an advantage of being in Samsung. How can I leverage it and give them views of the global best practices that's happening. We have presence in 78 countries. How can that be utilized with my experience in those countries? So this is what I am trying to build in the organization, having some meaningful engagement with the government, trying to make policies in a way or suggest amendments that are good for the country, and of course then directly then impacting the business as well. Of course, we are getting salaries from there. We have to think of their advantage. But my propagation has always been that you have to create a win-win situation with the government, where something good you are giving to the country, and then only you can talk about it, and you are seen in a position that, of course, we have to kind of take care of the businesses because they are getting investments in the country, employment in the country. So your story need to be right. So I'm just so within the industry. This would be actually my first stint in the industry per se, right? Till now I have had a third party view. I have been an industry association where I represented industry. Then I moved up to a consulting where I was representing a company, but get into more detailed involvement with the company, because we were like their extended policy arms. So as much as they could share with us, we were deeply involved in that. So more on a strategy role. And of course, now I think gaining all this knowledge, possibly the 360 degree, as you say, you have to cover in the field that you are. So with the industry, I'm hoping that this would get covered. I would actually work directly for our own business, for our own problems. So that has been my journey. And some just two to three key things that I've learned is to succeed in policy space is have your networks very strong. Relationship is all about, I think policy is all about having good relationship, knowing, maintaining those relationship, because you need to understand you need to have that view of what the future holds. And this could only happen when you're talking to people, when you're understanding, talking to people of different areas. And just, you don't really have to identify your direct stakeholder, indirect stakeholders as well. One is that, and second is read a lot about whatever is happening. General affairs reading. I would not say you don't have to get into technicals of too many things, but you need to be really aware of what is happening in India politics, what is happening in global politics, and be aware of your day-to-day happenings. And the third is, I wouldn't say that in this order, but integrity is something which you have to keep it. This is one area which will, it's not a very clean, I'll be very honest about it, because this role is also slightly of a government relations role, and you are expected, sometimes there are some kind of undue favors that are being asked, and also integrity is the key, and you can manage with it. It's not required that you have to get a change. You have to go through some hanky-panky mode. If your facts are right, if you have a strong base, you need to remember there's no one decision maker in any authority or something. So you have your way out in terms of escalating the issues and all, but never compromise on integrity, because this area is little slippery there. And that would be my 2 cents. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Surabhi. A quick question to you. You being at Samsung, what is your view on production-linked incentive schemes? Is your company going to take advantage of the new scheme?
So we have applied for it.
Excellent.
We are making mobile phones under production-linked incentive. In fact, Samsung is the first company to have even applied for the first year incentive dispersal also, because we have met our target.
Okay, you are claiming the incentive.
We are also claiming the incentive because we have met our target of the first year. We are the only one who have met their target for first year.
Excellent. That is true in COVID year.
Yes.
And
mobile phone factory in Noida.
Right.
So that has developed. We have expanded the scale there, and the target is, in fact, in the next year to double it. In fact, I would also proudly say that Samsung has, and that mobile factory, by the way, is the world's largest mobile factory of any company, just not of Samsung. It's like
Okay.
none of the
Okay.
mobile manufacturer has that big facility as we have in Noida.
Excellent. I will keep some questions to you towards the end of the session.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
Yes. Now, yeah, you can go ahead now.
Yeah, I'm good.
Thanks,
Please, yeah, thanks.
Thank you, ma'am, for inspiring all of us. Last but not the least, I would like to call Ms. Shreya Sony. Ms. Shreya is the founder and CEO of Dssc, a leading voice on creative marketing, strategy, luxury, and content. She is an economics graduate from Shri Venkateswara College and holds an MSc in economics and finance from Warwick Business School. She has previously worked as the senior consultant at EY and was the vice president at Anamkara and founding director at Picturewala, her little ventures early on in her career that set her ready for DSSC. Other than all the academic and professional things that she did, she fondly remembers her time at the Dramatics Club during her graduation year. Ma'am, we would like to hear from you now.
Thanks, Ishita. Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome to Shreya Sony.
Thank you, sir. How are you?
Yeah.
Lovely to see you.
We are very fine, Shreya. If I have to say something about you, I think you joined a little bit late.
Sir, sorry, I think I couldn't log on the link.
Okay.
Email. I'm so
Yes.
sorry about that.
Yes. In fact, Shreya Sony was one of the very few students of the 2007 batch who had gone to UK for post-graduation soon after undergraduation. Am I right?
Sir, say that again.
I'm saying you are one of the very few who went to UK soon after UG.
Yes, sir. So there was Chaitanya, me, Amrit. Yeah.
Correct.
We
Yes.
decided to study
Yeah.
and just kind of imbibe in a different learning culture.
Yes.
But I won't lie. I think like my heart started pacing when you started talking because I thought you're going to say she was one of the few students who always came late to class.
No, not at all. In fact, we have seen some of your events also in that dramatic society, you know. Right in front of our main building, we have this small lawns area where, you know, all these events used to happen.
So I genuinely feel, you know, at least 0407 and even our seniors, in fact, so before 2004, the Dramatic Society of our college was one of the finest. And I remember it was always, you know, when we would kind of battle it out in the theater, you know, competitions, it was always Venki versus a couple of colleges in North Campus. So I think it really shaped the person I am. So I'm very excited to be, you know, part of the Dramatic Society of Venki. But Ishita, thank you. So thank you so much for having me here. I won't lie. When I got that first message, I was a wee bit surprised, you know, about how you found me and how you thought I could be right for such a cool session like this. So really, thank you so much for having me. And also, it's so good to see some of my peers from class. I'm sure at some point they've helped me with attendance. I'm kidding. But it's very good to see, you know, what Surabhi, Ravi, Tanya are doing. Just so impressive. But also in many ways, I'm not shocked because they were some of the brightest people in our class. For everyone who's, you know, still on a Saturday, thank you so much. My name is Shreya Sony. I was part of the 0407 batch. I had an incredible time in college, and I'm going to keep this part of the last part of this conversation structured a little bit differently. I mean, thank you, Ravi, for taking one for the team, and you had like such an impressive presentation. I come with none. I'm going to keep this fairly fluid and conversational. And Sir and Ishan, sorry, Ishita, if you don't mind, I'm open to keeping this fluid, and you can ask as many questions relevant to you and your phase in time, and throw them at me. I hope, you know, it can be useful to your current time. But before I kick off, just a little shout out to the 52, you know, students who are here, part of the Economics Association. I really want to say, like, hats off to you guys. I think it's been a couple of really rough years for businesses across the globe. But I think the one segment that we often don't necessarily think about is the student community, about how they've had to kind of like pivot so drastically and move learning online. I think one of the key reasons of who I am, where I am, is because of those 3 years at Venki, and just that kind of like the culture, the eclectic diversity on campus, and the fact that, you know, you all are having to experience that online. It's really remarkable how you've all kind of adjusted to the new normal. So really congratulations on you know, doing it really well. It's a good inspiration. In terms of a little bit of an introduction, so I read commerce from Mothers International School, based out of Delhi. Right after that, I read economics, like you all know, at Venki. I want to say you will soon start spotting that pattern through the course of my story, that I think the first half of my education and work journey was very, it almost felt a tad bit scripted. I don't think I lay complete control about my decisions. You know, I read economics because it was considered the right thing to do. You know, half my family, they're economists or they're chartered accountants. So I break into a sweat when I see a balance sheet. So for me, the only other option was, you know, read economics. And I'm sure it really contributes to the person I am today. And I believe everything happens for a reason. I won't say I was the brightest kid in class. I understood the basics. I appreciate the basics up until today. It explains market dynamics and consumer behavior really well. It's what I do now. But I don't necessarily think I was the brightest one. And Sir is definitely going to, you know, he's nodding and smiling with the camera off when I say this. But what I deem so important from my college years is a couple of things. One is I got some of my best friends from college. These are friendships that stay solid till today. And I consider them my rock. The second thing that I really picked up from college were the softer skills. And that's something that Ravi first spoke about. And I'm so excited he touched upon that point, because he's right. They kind of like eat every other technical skill dry and out. And I'm not dismissing the need for technical skills, but I think that forms the bedrock. Everything else on top, which are the softer skills and sharpening that skill set and that tool set, is really important. And that's why I credit DramSoc being such an important part of my life, because what it did was that, first of all, it taught me how to get rid of my fear of public speaking. We had no choice. Our seniors kind of like bullied us into going on stage and like performing. And that really helped me in good stead up until today. And the other good thing was, how do you kind of courtesy different scripts and roles that you don't necessarily pick, that the director or the writer picks out for you. We learned how to flex our style. And I'll tell you in a little bit how that helps me today with my clients, because everyone has a different vibe and personality, and how do you adjust and flex your style to work well and collaborate with them. I had the best time in college. I continue to have very fond memories of it. In fact, when some of my other friends who heard that I'm going to be here today, they were laughing, saying, "Excuse me, is your experience going to be eating vada sambar in the back lawns? Is that what you're going to share?" But it was incredible. We had the opportunity at that point in time to build a rapport with our professors. I think at that point in time, Instagram didn't take our life over. So, you know, a lot of conversation. Really, we benefited from that. I know we've touched upon the lack of information or the access of information, but in some ways, I actually think, thank God, because it allowed us to cultivate and foster really good relationships with everyone around us. After I graduated again, I'm not sure why, but I went on to study economics and finance from the Warwick Business School, exactly what Sir was just mentioning. And I'm so impressed that he remembers. Thank you. There were about 5 of us from, in fact, the same class who, decided to study a little bit further. For me, the decision was more, it was led a little bit from the fact that I wanted to continue learning and also imbibe from a new cultural experience and a new learning format. Do I remember everything academically from my master's? I'm not sure. But again, the key bits that I remember from my master's was, time management, living up to deadlines. It was a jam-packed year. It was a tough year. And also just the importance of imbibing and observing. That was my first experience of taking in so many different cultures under the same roof. And I think that kind of like exposure really widened my lens to understand the importance of diversity in thought and execution and ideas and conversation. It was amazing. It really, continues to shape the person I am. Again, it kind of circles back to everything that the previous speakers have already touched upon, which is, the soft skills and integrity. And as Tanya, how beautifully she explained it about, the journey may seem a bit like rickety rockety, but you gotta trust your own grit. And if it doesn't scare you, then maybe you're not on the right path. But again, I think I chose it because it was the right thing to do. This was also when I graduated from my master's. It was, unfortunately, it was the global meltdown. It was the first big financial crisis of 2008. And so again, a bunch of us stayed back a little longer just to, put in our one big shot to apply for jobs there. It was a tough market. It was a shrinking market, not just in terms of like employment, but even in terms of like just finances, etc. And in many ways, now I kind of think back, I said, wow, I went through that, 2008 complete bubble burst. And then we've gone through 2020, and there are so many learnings, but there are so many overlaps in terms of change and how businesses respond to change. So it's been an interesting learning, if that's a word I can use. I stayed back. I interviewed with management consultancies at that point in time. Those are the guys that were still, I think, hiring. That was one of my key things. And I kicked off with the graduate program at Ernst & Young in London. It was possibly one of the best decisions I have ever made, even though my inherent kind of like tuning isn't necessarily aligned to consultancy. But it taught me a lot. One was, it kind of like set that bedrock of what it means to work in an IRL format, which is so different from what education props us on and kind of like sets us for. I think the reality of any job, it could be finance, it could be corporate, it could be policy, it could be anything. I think the reality of an on-ground job experience is so vastly different. And it really, the graduate program, it was a rotational program. So, you kind of like sit out multiple desks to see what is your leaning towards. And they also kind of like just teach you the very basics. For me, it came down to how do you construct a really good professional email? This is something I would imagine that should be taught in schools, but it's something I had to learn in my first job. So, which is why I thought, my 6 years in Ernst & Young were just hugely beneficial. We kind of a bunch of us fast-tracked our graduate program, which is typically 18 to 24 months, but we fast-tracked it. And I got absorbed by one of the desks that I had the most interest for, which is something called change management. So essentially what that does is, long story short, in a nutshell, when companies are, really big, these are mammoth-sized companies, right? So I'm talking NHS, which is the health system in the services across England, or Sony, Eurostar, Diageo. These are global complex companies which are fairly bulky. How do you help them identify leakages, build solutions to plug it, and also try and make them slightly leaner and be nimble on your feet? So as you can imagine, we weren't necessarily the most liked set of consultants on our client floors, but I really appreciated that experience because it really kind of like set my initial understanding and also just theoretical and the execution of things that I continue to apply today, which is stuff like companies need to be lean, cut out and shed out that excess fat, be nimble on the feet, respond to change slightly quicker, and look at the world that we live in today. If you're not responding to change, or something as simple as, and this you all know way better than I will ever do, you're the generation that kind of like really has lived through the and made the most benefit of digital information, is that if you don't have a digital solution added on to your brand or your product, then what are you even doing? So those kind of like responses to change, that really helped me kind of like really just bolster that in, to be honest. I zero complaints, honestly. I think it was a great life. I was constantly learning. I don't think I was plateauing at any point, only because you're constantly moving from different industry, different project, and a different set of colleagues. So that kept it fairly exciting. But I think at some point there was a little niggle in my head that said, this is great. But as Tanya pointed out so correctly, and I think it's like she was talking, and I was like, oh God, she's like in my head, is that it just got too comfortable. I don't think I was feeling insanely challenged, even though it was a very tough life and a tough job. But I wasn't feeling insanely challenged. I wanted to try something new. And I think mentally I kind of checked out of that role. My managers at that point in time, they were incredibly kind. They thought it was a case of just being homesick. So they put me on a 2-month, 3-month sabbatical, said, go back home. They kind of expected me to really hate it back here. And the role was open for me to join back. And that was an incredibly generous, offer that my managers and mentors offered me there. I came back. At that point in time, this is 2011-12. This is also the time where the entrepreneurial energy was really peaking in Bangalore, Bombay, and Delhi. Also, if I may just say, Ishita, whenever you think I am going off track or off time, please just feel free to cut me, and I'll try to summarize it. But essentially, at that point in time, I was very excited to come back to India because I live in Delhi. My family's in Delhi. I've spent majority of my time in Delhi, but the Delhi I came back to was so wildly exciting. I think just, in many facets, the city was bursting at its cultural seams. The conversation had shifted. We were seeing new products, innovation come through, be it hospitality, tech, corporate, whatever. So it was very exciting, and it was the last few weeks, but nothing was necessarily fitting because of my advisory background. I think everyone was trying to fit me back into that bucket, and I was fairly sure that if I'm going to pursue change management, it's always going to be at EY London. I'm not going to, change ships, but I wanted to try something new. And at that point in time, I met someone who was setting up a supply chain, a farm to fork supply chain, which kind of like eliminated the problem of everyone knows about, the farming structure in India. We have multiple layers of, 7 to 12 layers of middlemen between farmer and end consumer. And at each level, there's a markup. And so you can only imagine what the farmer gets based on that MRP. And she was setting up a supply chain which kind of like eliminated the middleman so that the farmer gets more for their product. And for me, I have no prior experience in that. I had never even thought about that being a potential work opportunity for me, but that just made me so uncomfortable in my gut that I kind of knew that this is something exciting that I'd like to try. And I spoke to my managers, and I've seen the importance of having clarity in communication channels with anyone at work, and I clarified that, and they were amazing. They said, yeah, it's for a risk-averse management consultant, this was a bold move. So they said, yeah, definitely try it for a couple of years, and if it doesn't float your boat, the role exists for you back here. And again, it was a very generous offer, and that's when I moved back. And that's my little stint at Anamkara, where we were working with grassroots, just, with the farmers in Mewat, who at that point in time, one of the early guys who were growing something called zucchini. They had no idea what that was. They thought it was a form of cucumber, which it is. But they called it jugni, and they sold it for a pittance to the next person in the supply chain, who kept marking up till they hit your metros, who knew what the consumer would pay for exotic zucchini. So that was the role. It was very interesting because it just, it was kind of like being thrown into the deep side of the pool to very quickly understand how grassroots India operates. That was the first time I worked full-time in the Indian construct, and it was fantastic. It showed me different facets of how our marketplace works, different vendors, different brands, and also it gave me my first taste of the Indian consumer, which I think is one of the most exciting playgrounds to work in today. At that point in time, when I was working at Anamkara, I think the one thing that I missed massively was conversation without agenda. Slightly dull conversation happening in Delhi. It was weekend after weekend doing the same thing, speaking to the same people. And then I started like picking up on the same problem with amongst a lot of people. A lot of people complaining, saying, oh, you want really good conversation, go to Bombay, or like, stuff like that. And I was like, wait, you're interesting. You both seem to have the same problem. Why aren't you connecting? At that point in time, I decided to set up a social experiment of sorts. I'm very interested in consumer behavior and just anthropology in general, even though I didn't study it and I wish I did. And that kind of like set me off to think, what if all these people that have not just 6 but 12 degrees of separation, what if you got them together? I come from a family where you break ice via food. So again, the construct became the experiment. The layers were, meeting strangers and breaking that ice via food. And that's when I set up something called Delhi Secret Supper Club. It was the subcontinent's first dining club at that point in time. This is 2013. 2012, 2013. And it was really interesting because it also then, it was the first time, first of all, I was trying something entrepreneurial. I am a true blue risk-averse management consultant. And it was superbly interesting. It taught me a lot about how do you set up a business, let alone run a business in a complex market space like India. But it was a huge learning for the first 4 years. And then I decided to add on a level of challenge to that already challenging format. And I ran the company for the first 4 years anonymously. And the reason for that is that at that point in time, young businesses, brands, and services, at least in Delhi and Bombay, the going success rate was very closely interlinked and correlated with having a face and kind of like, insane amount of press and media around the founder. And I come from a school of thought, or at least like, I really want to credit, my time at Venki. It's always product over person, and that allows longevity. That was one of the few things I think I learned in class, that to allow longevity for a product or a company, it's always product over person, and you can't peg it down to a founder, which is why I said, okay, let's see if it has teeth, then we're going to run it anonymously. And it was meant to be a one-off experiment that went on for 4 years. What it kind of became was we kind of like slowly built a bridge between brands and consumers to have a slightly more transparent and honest conversation. So in the last kind of like, let's say between 2012 to 2015, conversation was a lot more rhetorical. It was a lot more orchestrated. If you even like go back to marketing campaigns from that time or advertising from that time, some of them, of course, they're gems, and it comes from the stables of Ogilvy, etc. But most of them almost now feel like, wait, who are you selling to? And it feels like you're selling to all of India, whereas my take is that India is actually almost like very complex and unique because it is multiple customer segments who are kind of under one roof. So till you don't personalize and segment your kind of your consumer base, you're just like going wide but not going deep. So we became a platform where we were offering a lot more bespoke solutions to brands across hospitality, alcobev, a little bit of lifestyle and tech and corporate, where essentially they were getting to seed their product, test their product, get real-time feedback, and also that stamp of legitimacy, which offered to be a really cool trickle-down effect. At that point in time, we were also exploring what does viral communication even mean? Guys, this may feel like really ancient to you, but we were still on the early days of viral content. And it was very interesting. And 4 years on, we realized that this is not just a dining club, but it's actually becoming a platform to market really interesting brands and services to a segmented, highly focused and targeted audience. And that's when we, really broke into our own shoe of being one of India's only, at that point in time, only experiential marketing agencies. I think one of the other things that I learned at my time at Venki was don't try and be an expert at everything. Really know what you're good at. You're going to have, your primary, secondary, and tertiary really good core strengths, and know what you're good at, and then keep sharpening that skill set and that toolbox. And that learning from my time reading economics at Venki really taught me that, we don't want to be a 360 everything one-stop shop solution provider. We're very good at these three things. We're going to continue learning and expanding our knowledge on becoming the experts for these 2/3 things. So today, we're no longer Delhi Secret Supper Club, but we are Dssc Ideas Lab. The premise is in our name. So essentially brands across the board. So it could be, the laptop that you've tuned in from, or the phone, or the beverage that you may drink a little bit later, or the food you eat, the hospitality sector in India, corporates, your top 10 corporates in the country, coffees, whatever that is. These guys, they come to us with one problem statement. More often than not, it's super generic and it's super vague. It becomes our job to distill it down and try identify what is that key objective this brand wants to solve. So it could be a launch to market strategy. It could be who is even my customer today, because the customer is very, very different and it's hyper segmented today. Or it could be, what is my content strategy? What should I be leveraging? What should I be exploring? And again, like this class more than anyone else would understand the benefit of building bespoke solutions and seeing that actually not every piece of content flies on every placement. You all know that there are certain things that work maybe more on Reels as opposed to Twitter, as opposed to a post, as opposed to YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. And then how do you build monetization models around it? So that's what we do now. we're going to close in on 10 years, I think, next year. It's been one interesting journey. It's one that I've learned every single day on the job. I don't have prior marketing experience. I didn't study it. I didn't read it. I never worked officially, or got training in this sector. But I think we're doing all right. And it kind of like circles back to my time at Venki. I think it just really it really helped me understand the importance of, actually, it taught me 5 things. One is, I think my time at Venki and especially economics, and I know I started off saying, I have no idea why I read that. I don't remember much of it, but here's what I did learn, which I feel like everyone else, the previous speakers have summarized so beautifully. I think my time at Venki taught me the importance of trusting my gut and knowing what are my, that strengths and sharpening that skill set. I think it really fanned the importance or underlined the importance of staying curious and listening and observing your surroundings. By that, I mean mostly around my time at dramatics at the DramSoc. We were always asked to go out, go observe people, different personalities, because you'll pick up one thing about that personality and that's what you project in your role. And I think I continue carrying that trait forward because I feel the Indian marketplace is very unique, it's very diverse. And the more we try push out template, one size fits all solutions, I think those campaigns flop the hardest. Whereas my time at Venki taught me that, one size may not fit all. And you need to constantly observe and thereby respond and not react. I think it also taught me the importance of having fun. I feel like we don't talk about it enough. I love what I do. I genuinely wake up super excited, to show up at work. As bad and challenging and complex the day could be, I am hugely, passionate about the work I do. And I think it goes back to my time in school and college and after, which is that at no point in time would anyone who's working in a professional setup, a full-time professional setup, are they going to tell you that, yeah, it's easy? I'm yet to meet one professional who's like, yeah, I had a great, easy day today. But the joy of seeking fun or of finding those little nuggets of joy and fun, even through the complicated, nuanced workings of professional life, that came through college. So I really appreciate that. I also really like 2 other things, which is it taught me to recognize and be a little bit more mindful about the hierarchy of strengths. So essentially think of it as a pyramid. And it's like a food chain, right? Like, what's good to have, what's a must to have. And at no point do I'm really bad at a lot of things, really, truly so. But I also know what I'm kind of good at. And I focus on that hierarchy. And I know what my primary, secondary, and my tertiary core strengths are. And I try on a daily basis to go deeper and be a little bit more knowledgeable than the previous day on those hierarchy of strengths. And, as we just kind of like had that enough, well, I don't know who said this, but the importance of building relationships or even just networking. And that's something that I think Surabhi said this, it's everything. It's integrity and your personality. And I really just want to add on one tiny word to it, because I 100% agree. And I know Tanya said it too. It's the importance of that, but it's also the importance of building authentic relationships. These are people that you're hopefully going to work with, over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. You're all supremely bright. You're not going to drop off the professional ecosystem. So these are people who would come back in different phases and stages of your life. So I think the importance of just building that authentic relationship really goes a long way. So that's my story and my key takeaways from my time there. I hope it's of some use and help to you all. And Ishita, if you have any questions, happy to take those on.
Thank you, ma'am. It was very insightful. Now we would like to start the question answer segment. Please send in your question answers in the chat box. Also, I would like to mention that Ravi sir had a time commitment, so he had to leave early. If there are any questions for him, you can mention it in the chat box. We'll surely send it to him. So all the participants are requested to send their questions in the chat box.
Ishita, do you have a question? Why don't we start with you?
Okay, sure. One question that I have for you is that many of us want to start our own ventures and look into being our own bosses. So what is the most rewarding and enjoyable part of your work, and how has been your experience being the founder and CEO of DSSC?
Wow, I'm going to start with being like the wettest blanket that there is. I think the biggest illusion and misconception is the thrill and the allure of being your own boss. There is no such thing. In fact, if you are an entrepreneur or you know of an entrepreneur within your circles, networks, have this conversation with them. It is one of the most challenging, tricky roles to fulfill. Because you're constantly either putting out small to medium fires on a daily basis, or you're kind of like having to dip all your 10 fingers and your 10 toes into multiple things. You're needed all the time for something or the other. So I would not encourage anyone to get into the space of entrepreneurship because that is your goal, which is like, I want to be my own boss. And it sounds exciting. It may theoretically on paper sound exciting. Man, in theory, it is not. But I will tell you what's immensely rewarding of the process. One is you get to learn on a daily basis and on the job, and I feel like it's just accelerated learning in some ways or forms, because if you did not respond to change or do not address challenges and build solutions for it, you're just going to fall behind. So I think just that you have this extremely steep kind of like learning curve, which I think is very, very hugely, kind of like rewarding and enriching. And the other thing is that very interlinked with the learning piece, which is that there's a lot of diversity in your day. So no 2 days are alike, no 2 weeks are alike. I usually work in marketing and content. And I think my end consumer, my end client, and the marketplace just makes it supremely diverse, where no 2 days are alike, because the change is accelerated more so because of the pandemic.
Thank you, ma'am. If anyone has any question for any of our speakers, you can go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned Ravi has some time commitment, right?
Yes.
Is he still there or has he left?
I think he has left, sir.
Okay, no problem. He has, I think, dropped his email ID.
Yes, sir.
He would be, available for further communication on email, right?
Yes, sir. He said that we can send any question that we have for him on his mail.
Yes. Those who would be asking questions and queries, please ask them to direct it to a particular person, particular speaker, so that they would respond.
Yes, sir.
If possible,
sir,
we can.
I've got few questions.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes,
go ahead.
Please, sir. Sir, we've got a few questions for Tanya, ma'am. If she's here, we can ask.
Okay. Is Tanya there?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. Ma'am, nowadays a significant proportion of students in the country's top B schools already have a few years of work experience. So MBA right after bachelor's degree or an MBA after 2-3 years of work experience? What do you think is the choice that people should make?
Uh, yeah, so again, right, it would depend on, I mean, there's no, cookie cutter answer to this. It would kind of depend on every person's own journey and aspirations. I'd say if during your undergrad you get through, the IIMs or the top B schools, go ahead, right? And because, you can just get away with learning at one go and then start off your professional experience. If you don't make it to the top B schools, then it makes a lot more sense to really introspect, to see what you really want to do, and a little bit of work experience definitely helps in that, right? And I would say that when you're starting off your career, please do experiment, right? You need to find your calling, and that only comes with trying different things, getting your hands dirty, not being afraid, to just try out new roles, different things. And yes, an MBA after a few years of experience provides you that unique opportunity to know what you really want to do post MBA, number one. Number two, if you want to pivot your career, then an MBA with some work experience helps you do that. So if you worked in a different industry and you kind of want to change your stream, then an MBA kind of gives you that opportunity to do that. And of course, it comes with you've accumulated enough financial funds so that when you're doing an MBA, is expensive, whether you do it from India or from abroad. Any good B school would kind of cost you in lakhs. So yes, just having a little bit of that financial stability helps you. So these are the considerations.
Okay, ma'am, there's another one.
Okay.
Ma'am, so since you've done a CFA yourself, ma'am, if somebody is planning to pursue a career in finance, how should one go about choosing between a CFA or an MBA in finance, or probably a master's in finance?
Okay, so again, I would say it depends on what is your career goal. Now, CFA, MBA, and Masters in Finance have emphasis on very different subjects. So if like Ravi, if you want to make a career in investments, managing money, then I think the CFA is the best program to do that. If you want to have a more generalist finance profile, then a master's in finance or even an MBA in finance helps. Again, in each of these master's program, you have different subjects available for specializations, which will again strengthen your core expertise in those areas. So there is, like, again, I would say if you're unsure, then you start off with a little bit more generalist program. So I actually took about 8 years to finish my CFA, because at every point I was not very clear of whether this is the right whether I should continue pursuing it or not. And then as and when I kind of had different roles in my career which had relevance with some of those CFA programs, I kind of continued writing my exams. So yeah, that would be my answer.
Okay, ma'am. And then, ma'am, there's one last question. So a lot of students, especially from the economics batch of this year, are interested in the finance field, but most of them are keen on the investment banking side of things, because obviously everybody has seen Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. So, ma'am, a lot of people also don't have enough knowledge about investment banking. So, would you be able to tell us more about that field and that part of finance?
Yes, sure. So I would say that if any of you is interested in investment banking, then a good internship is the first step towards even, I would say, for a short period of time you will work in that environment. You will know whether it's cut out for you or not. There's a difference between what you see, the whole glamorous world, and what it really entails. And a lot of people, there are pros and cons, right, of every profession. So I'd say if you want to test it out, start off with an internship or an entry level role, and there are many opportunities that keep coming up. build your network, right? And there'll be lots of analyst positions, the starting of positions that are available in these iBanks. Start with that, try it for a few years, and then, find your calling. So, and you may choose to continue in that field, and, that may be the right answer for you. So, just look at what is it that really excites you, because like Shreya said, right, if you don't wake up every day loving what you do, then you're gonna like not really enjoy, right? Not enjoy that 10 hours, 12 hours of your day, and that'll be a shame. So, find out and find your calling, and then, just make your call. And you don't have to get it right the first go. None of us did, right? If you look at where, like, we all started from very similar thing, same similar schooling, same background, and same experience in Venki, but we all have ventured in different directions. So we don't get it right the first time.
Yes, ma'am, makes sense. Thanks a lot. That was very informative. Thank you.
Thank you.
There is a
Any
question
other questions?
There is a question for Surabhi, ma'am. Is she there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay.
Ma'am, usually economics undergraduate students face a dilemma between an MBA and an MA in economics. So did you face the same dilemma at that time, and what made you go for masters in business economics?
Very true. I think till now I can't say that what decision was right and what should I have done, because I think as of now my career path, whatever I did that time, this could have been chosen either ways. So at that time, of course, to be very honest, so the priority was MBA at that time. I had also taken up CAT, didn't score that well. So of course you have your other options open. I personally see MA. I won't be the right person to talk about MA in economics, because that has never been my calling to go into a hardcore economics role. Because I'll tell you, at that time the perception was, if you have to go for some kind of a research role after that, or a PhD, or generally not in a hardcore corporate kind of a world, so possibly then you are taking masters in economics, which has changed as of now. But at that time that used to be a perception, and I had kind of chosen my path that way. But I would say Master of Business Economics gave a blend of both these two things. I always wanted to be have a go into a curriculum which gives me an exposure to the business side of doing things, to general management, which MBE offered. And at the same time, you are not losing on your core of economics that you have really gained and learned in your curriculum in eco honors. So that was a good blend, and it opened up avenues to all the space. But I would say the same for MBA as well. So I feel whatever is I think both of these places will give you similar kind of opportunities. And whichever good school you are aspiring for, and if you get through, I can't distinguish between the two. It should be getting into a good one, a good school, in like, if you're comparing it, what kind of an MBA school, and Master in Business Economics is very, I think, is offered by very limited colleges, so there the choice is less. But of course MBA, if you're getting into like IIMs and all, I would say go for IIMs. But the brand value does unfortunately, though all school, it all depends on person to person, but still the hard fact is that somewhere when your resume gets picked up and all that, these things still matter. I've been in the side of recruiting as well and all, so the biases are still there, which I'm hoping that soon it would change. But yeah, go for a good course, good school, and I don't think so your career path will change much by choosing any of the two. You can go anywhere. All possibilities are open with these two options.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. There is a question for Shreya, ma'am. Ma'am, you've studied both in India and abroad. So what do you think is the major benefit of studying in India or abroad, and how do they both compare?
That's a really good question. Honestly, extremely unique. There are strengths to both formats. I'll be honest. I think what my schooling, my undergraduate in India gave me was understanding local context. Nothing like it, quite frankly. Now I work within the Indian marketplace and connecting brands with their consumers. I think it's my education of understanding the local parlance, the local ways of working, the local consumer spending capacities, behavioral traits. That's something my education here gave me. What the international side of it gave me was exposure. I think that's my key learning. It was the first time that I was exposed to, just not only just culturally, that diversity of thought and people and all of that, but more importantly, I think it taught me that your way or your conditioning is never the only way. There are different systems, there are different personalities, there are different working processes that I was completely unaware of. At that point in time, we didn't have that kind of now I feel like Instagram and like the kind of content that we see on it gives you a fair play and exposure and a lens into what is happening across the globe. I don't think I had that. I don't know, maybe like Tanya, Surabhi, if you think otherwise, but I didn't think I had that in like 2004, 2007. So when I studied in England, it just offered that difference in perspective, the exposure and the importance of realizing that your way is definitely not the right way. And then how do you flex your style to, operate in different ways. So great benefits in whatever you choose and wherever you study, because you're going to learn something from it. Does that answer whoever asked that question?
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. The questions are now over. If any of the teachers would like to address our alumni. So, Brahma Reddy sir, if you would like to go and address the alumni.
I initially spoke, for a few minutes. Dr. Krishna Kumar sir is there. I wish that he speak, on this occasion. He was very fondly known as, KK sir in those days. Even now, some people do call, KK sir. But in those days, he was very, very fondly known as KK sir. I would request him to say a few words on this occasion.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, it was great pleasure. I heard almost everybody. So sorry, unfortunately, that Ravi is gone before the meeting. Yeah. I'm waving hands. Now we can only wave hands from
I just want to tell you, I may have been the only person you have chucked one piece of chalk at, because I was talking in the
class. Yeah. All those things are very good. All your games and jokes and plays in the class, particularly in the math econ class at the end, because all were always doing things which they had already done in their tutorial classes, that is in the tuition centers and all. And of course, the economic history class was a very huge one, 120. That is in the first year. Before there used to be that courses, 4 courses. There were 4 annual courses. Every year there were 4 courses because it's annual year. And it was extraordinarily great because we moved from different rooms to different rooms. Ultimately, I think we settled in T1. Which is the brown room or whatever, the new name, I do not know, which was a T1. We used to be there.
We were eyeing for that room when will it come to us.
And I remember there was this association election also. And I distinctly remember poor Surabhi Pan's name. I had put a surname different and she said, it's okay, sir, forget about it, it's fine. And then I remember Tanya was so gentle and always this quest was there. If nobody was there also, Tanya, no, there was no question of nobody being there because like already Brahma Reddy has already told you, the class was always brimming with students. And in fact, sometimes the teachers...
98% attendance in my grad, so I could
yes.
Yeah.
Because there was always one chair for the teacher was also not there. By the time we reached the top floor, though, of course, then also we were 85. But of course, the Novembers were a very good teaching season when it was cold and the classes were full because outside was so chilly. So automatically the classes were more full during all those Novembers and Decembers. It was beautiful. Novembers and Decembers have now become, unfortunately, times when we have either examinations or some sort of a semi-break of sorts. We are waiting for exams or something like that. Nothing happens during that time. And Tanya, I remember for her being in almost all classes. And Shreya, though, always I used to meet her. Of course, I will not say I never met her in the class. She was in the class. But I always used to find her in the afternoons when I was on my walk to the library or so. or after my walk from the library into the wee hours of the evenings also they were there. And Surabhi was there always as a very silent, very active participant who added value to number of our events of the economic society. Because I really think that might be people can rise up to leadership, but if you go and make a good paper presentation at a conference and the external says great words, it's also very overwhelming for the department as well as for the teachers who have mentored you. So from that time onwards, I have noticed all of it. And Ravi to is like, he was always behind me saying that, sir, that business, how it had evolved and all that. Sometimes responding to their queries, also my interest in this field had gone up. And I should say that it was very heartening to have you, to welcome you. In fact, Dr. Reddy told, no, this time you should get somebody who should make a change. And in fact, I think in your batch, I think Montek Singh Ahluwalia came, and in the next batch, you people took it national. You made the Bliss Point, which was a small event at that time, making national. And unlike the little bit easiness which we have during online conferences, but there's a lack of that freshness of participation in the ground, the number of activities. You all, and some of you are one of the persons who organized the Bliss Point of that year. He was telling, sir, what management to learn after having managed Bliss Point? That's what he told me. Oh, I don't want to learn any management. I think management has already been taught and learned here itself. And it's not the day in which we could teleprint ourselves, edit ourselves, publish ourselves sitting in our own home, typing it and sending it there. No, we had to go all the way to Daryaganj. I remember going with the students to Daryaganj, seeing to that there are no typographical errors, because that was the only thing which I was bothered about, because enthusiasm apart and good English education in schools apart, typographical errors, not our own grammatical errors, were plenty, continues to be. And for people like me also, entering into the world of typing and doing things using all the AI fed things, our own languages are actually going up. Less would be with words poetic or so. But it is a great pleasure. In fact, I can avoid any event, but I never would want to avoid an event where my own students come back to speak. It is really an honor. It's a pleasure. It's a delight. It's a great pleasure of a treasure and a treasure of a pleasure to have all of you here. Thank you so much, and keep coming.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Krishna Kumar. Now we have come to the last leg of our marathon session. I would say it's a marathon session. I am sure you did not expect that you had to sit for so long, right? So, but still, you are so patient, and
we didn't realize that how soon the time. I'm like more than 2 hours had gone by, but yeah, it's like I could.
Yes. So you are reconnecting to your past emotional attachment with the institution.
Exactly.
Under graduation, in schools you spend 12 to 14 years, right? So that is the longest period you spend in one institution. Then comes undergraduation, where you are having more freedom. Like Shreya is an exception, I would say. Normally, no one would expect someone who has all the way gone to UK to study economics and finance, will come back and do something not related to economics and finance directly, So she is always on an experimental mode, and her the present what is called organization, the Ideas Lab. So I don't know how that idea she got to name it as Ideas Lab. If you see the advanced models of economic growth, basically they talk of, your economic growth depends upon how many good ideas you have, and how many of them you take them into, implementation, right? And she was one of the very few who went to UK soon after, UG. I remember giving her letter of reference. So I thought she would become economist, and surprisingly, she has turned out to be something else, So there is no single road to success, and people, in the course of the time, realize what their real interest is in, and accordingly, you have to take decisions. Coming to Ravi Sarogi, Ravi was a very quiet, person in the class. That was my, impression. And if you see his career graph, he did UG from college, straight away went to Madras School of Economics, and he got married also a Tamilian, girl. So now he is almost a Tamilian boy, right? So Tamilian culture is so influential, I'm saying. Entire country's, culture, traditions, is one thing. Although I do hail from South India, And there are a lot of similarities in our cultures and traditions. And even Dr. Krishna Kumar is from, Kerala, but Tamilian is something, very influential. I too, traveled a lot of Tamil Nadu. And now what he said is very interesting, that, this investment activity by households is mostly limited to, the very rich or, next to them. And his idea that you should provide investment advice to all, classes of families, even middle income, low income, is nothing but, a dimension of social service, that he wants to reduce transaction costs and enable people to get better investment advice, and helping them, to improve their, wealth position. Ravi, soon after MSc he has done, is the soon after MSc from Madras School of Economics, he has gone on to pursue CFA, and now he is an independent investment advisor. So it means he is self-employment. I'm sure he would have created some. He has created some employment as well, along with creating, his own employment. Coming to Surabhi. What Surabhi is doing, public policy, normally those who, work, although she is not trained formally in public policy, that's what she said, and I know it. Soon after undergraduation, she went to South Campus. If I recollect, I think during when she was in South Campus, once I happened to see her in Satyaniketan as well. Someone also told, her father is a bank manager. I don't know. I still remember that.
Insurance. Yeah, he was in insurance. Yeah, but
yeah, some financial market. Yeah, I think someone told me. And yes, I someone also told me that you are from, that Dehradun, small, hill town. Surabhi, soon after going to, South Campus, doing business economics. Maybe, that it may not be her natural choice. Maybe she got, admission over there, she joined, right? If I had to say that.
Yeah, it was good. Delhi University, you are doing a master's from there.
Yes,
It has
that brand name is there.
So yeah,
yes.
I wanted to complete my master's. That time it was like
yes, you wanted to complete a master, and after all, it's a South Campus next to your first home in Delhi. So there was a natural preference, and soon after that you joined in FICCI, which is an industry voice, and then now you are working on public policy. That's quite amazing. And I know the how public policies impact industry after I have worked for some years in the government. And what I would feel is that if you can do a 2 years masters in public policy, like for example Harvard or Columbia, some of our recent passouts have been to Harvard and Columbia public school, right? That gives a proper qualification also. Probably that would give you what do you call an advantage to apply even at a very higher level position, because you already have experience. Let me tell you, those who want to do public policy, it's not that straight away from UG you go to public policy course. No, you must have worked some years in the areas related to public policy, not necessarily on public policy like in Niti Aayog or finance ministry, but even like you mentioned about Samsung, a lot of policies directly and indirectly impact industry, particularly the regulations, the laws, statutes, and new policies. You mentioned about the production linked incentive scheme, a brilliant idea, that came up when government consulted with industry, and your own company is taking advantage of it. And I think I don't know how
the way this government is, whether to all the students, I would say this government is gonna not make it gonna easy for industry. So many jobs would be coming in policy space, because people need support. People need help. They don't understand, and that's the thing which you can tap, because right now there are limited resources in this area. They really need people. So that's why I'm saying this is something which has so far not been cluttered with a lot of resources. So you can bridge that gap. So demand is picking up, supply is not there enough. And I have experienced that while I was hiring.
Yeah, you mean to say for the public policy analysts?
Public policy analyst, and the joint public policy team for industry. They want people who understand the government, the policy making and all that. They really don't want a lawyer or something. They want people who understand the nuances of policy, just not from the legal perspective, from a larger thing. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, there is not many resources around this area. We have a challenge in finding one. So, so that's a good space to be in. Therefore, I'm telling you the area that will be, and if the way the government is going and all, so I don't see that the policy evolution process will stop. It will keep on increasing, and that would be a good space to be in.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Surabhi. And we have number 3 is Tanya. And as she has stated, if I remember correctly, she went for a 2 years program in CRISIL, sponsored some program, where you have some working days and also some, learning days. And subsequently, she went to, that is ISB, Indian School of Business, which is there in Hyderabad. I think it's at Gachibowli. Am I right, Tanya?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. In fact, I spent 6 years very close to ISB in the University of Hyderabad. You may have traveled to, Lingampalli, that's a marketplace.
I traveled a little bit in Hyderabad, not too much.
Okay. Okay. So her, own career graph, if you see, ISB is one of the prestigious business schools. And now I see, that there will be, looking back for her. All 4 of you are, doing exceptionally, good. In fact, we started this program of Inspire with your own batch. That was in 2016-17. The first one to come was Annapurna Mitra, who is at presently with IMF, Delhi office. Subsequently, we invited 4 people. That is, Shagun, Jain, Shruti Mehrotra. Shruti is now with the, indirect taxes department of the government of India. She is an IRS officer. And we also have Anmol Bhatt. He is with, I think, American Express. And then Avantika, who is also in Mumbai. She's, I think, working with Google, right? So we have so far invited 8 people from your own batch. And we wish that more people would come from your own batch, because it has been almost, 14 years since you left. And you have had your own share of experiences and, risks that you have taken, the decisions that you have taken, which, may turn out to be good, may not turn out to be good. You may, think in retrospect, if I had taken a different decision, what it would have been. Like in case of Tanya, she got admission call from JNU, but she didn't join. So now, there is a phrase called, I'm not able to recall. So had she joined into JNU, probably her entire career graph would have been different. I am quite sure she would have become an academician, Probably she would have gone to, further for PhD and would have become a teacher. One of your classmates, Ganguly, is there, Arpan, right?
Yes.
Do you know where he is now? You don't know. So you all passed out in 2005. And in 2000, I think he spent 1-2 years here and there. In 2006, he appeared for University of Hyderabad MA entrance exam. He was in waiting list 2, right? So after the admission was complete, the waiting list 1 fellow got the admission, because 1 fellow who took admission left. And he had to wait for 10 days at the University of Hyderabad to get his turn for admission. Ultimately, 1 more fellow left the department, MA Economics, and he joined. Now he is in America. He completed PhD from a very good university in USA. And now he's a faculty over there. So, those whom we think, like, Shreya said, Ravi said one very interesting thing, which I have been working now. Soft skills. Yes, hard skills are very important. You should be good at econometrics, statistics, data analytics, etc. Soft skills, communication skills, leadership skills, management of emotions, it's too important. And I believe, I don't know, Shreya started it from undergraduation. The dramatic society, all these things, in fact, helped her to, improve the soft skills part of it. I don't know whether it was a conscious decision of hers, or, what motivated her to, join to dramatics. And, she continued to be not in the mainstream of the field like economics, finance, management, even today. So the soft skills are very, very important. And our association, Economics Association, is going to start, events related to soft skills like, communication, leadership management, etc., etc. So all of you have been, very wonderful. And as I mentioned, this is also the 60th year of our college establishment. We are celebrating what is called the Diamond Jubilee year. This is the 60th year. Since 1961, our college has been set up. We are in 2021. We are celebrating Diamond Jubilee year, that is celebrated at the 60th year. The Department of Economics is going to launch, a souvenir, that is Diamond Jubilee souvenir, where we would be inviting, not every one of you, it's not possible. We'd be inviting all those who have already been invited for Inspire session to write just an off a page. Whatever you have spoken, today, if you could, write it, off a page. If you have time, you can write one whole full page. We want to, bring out that souvenir towards the end of this academic year, that is May 2022. So if you agree to it, it would become, a permanent asset of the department, because we are going to keep it in our department website. So all those people, who would be joining into department, who joined in the past, would be able to know, where our alumni are and how they are doing, which will be, very inspiring to them. Right? Do you all agree with that?
Sure, happy to.
Yes. 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 So this is what I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much once again from the Department of Economics side. Is the association wants to conclude?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So I would like to thank our alumni for taking out time to inspire all of us. I'm sure it was a big learning experience for all. Thank you to all the teachers, the faculty member, and students for joining in. With this, we conclude the session. Thank you.
Yeah, we would be sending a small memento to all our, distinguished alumni. We have announced them as distinguished alumni. So we are going to send a small memento to each one of you. Kindly share your, what is called residential, details with our association members. They would be soon posting it. Thank you so much, Surabhi and Tanya.
And can I just one more thing I just wanted to add? So I have a lot of passion for mentoring. In case anybody wants to, kind of get in touch and discuss various options. I'm very, very happy to spend time with you.
+1, 100%, anytime.
Same here, even. I was about to say that only.
Thank you.
You have our email IDs with the association people. Reach out to us.
As long as it involves KK sir giving us that vada sambar, we're 100% agreed.
Yeah, thank you, Tanya and Surabhi and Shreya. In fact, I forgot to mention about this particular aspect. Yesterday I was thinking how we can take your services for the benefit of our students. We are going to, float a Google form, which, each one of you are going to fill, and we will have that, basic contact details with the department, your contact details, and we will be allocating, based on the interest shown by the students, 1 or 2 students for the mentoring, right? So if you, can do that, if you can give some time, maybe monthly 1-2 hours, that would be the...
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that would be the greatest, service that you can do to your own, juniors who have a lot of dreams and, aspirations. Thank you. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to meet everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, let's stay in touch. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.